Hey, what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor and I have personally been involved in over 300 property deals over the last 10 years. And in this video, I want to talk about property deal sourcing. What does it mean to be a deal sourcer? And you may hear a lot of people talking about deal sourcing or property flipping, packaging deals. Like, what does it mean exactly? What do the different expressions mean? And should you be a deal sourcer? So first, let me say this. If you hear people talking about flipping properties, I'm a property flipper. That is very different from a property sourcer. A property sourcer, a property packager, or a deal packager, a deal seller, that all means the same things. A property flipper is someone who finds a property deal, they buy it, they do it up, and then they pass it on to someone else. So they flip it onto someone else. That's a property flipper. A property sourcer, and you may also have heard people describe themselves as a trader. I trade deals, I'm a deal trader, I'm a deal packager, a deal sourcer, a deal seller. That all means the same thing. I don't know why there's so many different expressions for it, but what that is when you find a deal, you don't buy it, you don't own it, you just find it, you negotiate it at a set price, and then you pass it on to an investor for a fee. Effectively, you're like a broker in the middle. Now, the great thing about being a deal sourcer, I'm going to talk about the good things, the bad things. Hopefully you kind of get what it is now. So you find an opportunity, you find a deal, negotiate the price, pass it on to an investor, take a fee, never own it. The great thing about it is there's no risk, or there's very, very little risk, because when you buy a house, what are the risks? Well, the risk is that you can't rent it out. The risk is that it goes down in value. The risk is that the tenants trash the property. There are risks. Whereas when you're packaging a property and passing it on to somebody else, the only risk you have is the risk of having a bad reputation or a bad conscience of passing on a bad property. But financially speaking, you have zero risks. You have no risks financially because you don't ever own the house. You're just finding it and passing it on to somebody else. So that's the first pro. The second pro is it can be a very, very lucrative. And I mean very lucrative. I've sold hundreds of these deals. On average, if you find a deal and you pass it on to an investor, they'll pay you between £2,000 and £5,000. Now you might think, why would someone pay you thousands of pounds to go and find a property? And the reason is because probably the most expensive thing that you're ever going to buy is a house. Generally speaking, if I say to someone, what's the most expensive thing you've ever bought? It's a house. Maybe followed by a wedding, maybe a car, and then generally you might buy small things every day like food, go out for dinners. Now, if you were paying someone to find you a nice dinner, where's a good place to go and eat? Oh, it's probably this place. You might tip somebody a couple of pounds, a few pounds, because you're only spending £50 on the dinner. But when you're spending £50,000 on an investment, or maybe £500,000, something so big, something so expensive as a property investment, do you think that you'd be prepared to pay somebody a couple £1,000s to not only find you a good deal, but also to negotiate the price down? If someone's negotiated a property from £100,000 to £80,000, they've knocked off £20,000. Would you pay them £2,000 to do that? And the answer is, of course. So as a deal sourcer, if you're out looking for properties and you're knocking down the prices and you're negotiating good deals, you are paid handsomely to do that. So there's no risk. The second thing is very, very lucrative. The third great thing about deal sourcing is you are getting paid to scout the market for good property investments. And what's going to happen if you're a deal sourcer is you're going to come across such good property investments. Some of them are going to be so good and you're going to get them so cheap and they're going to be such great investments that it's going to pain you to sell them for a measly £2,000. You're going to be like, man, I found this house. It's 200 grand, but I've got it down to 150. And also, when I buy it, I'm going to be able to get some planning permission and push the value up and I'm going to rent it out. And it's such a good deal. I want £5,000 and you'll sell it for £5,000. And then another one will come along, just as good, even better. And you're like, I don't even want to let this go for £5,000. And what you'll do is you'll think, actually, you know what? I want this myself. And you'll find a way of financing it yourself. You'll probably use your property investors that you've built up as a deal sourcer and you'll get them to fund it. But you're going to end up being a property investor as a deal sourcer. Not just a property investor, but the kind of property investor that gets the absolute creme of the creme deals. So that's the great things about being a deal sourcer. The not so great things about being a deal sourcer are, firstly, it comes with a lot of responsibility, because if you're passing deals on to investors and they're trusting you and taking your word for it and paying you thousands of pounds, it comes with a lot of responsibility. So I'd highly recommend a couple of things. Firstly, get educated and get good. Make sure that you're only finding good deals. And secondly, make sure that you have proper terms and conditions with your investors so that they know that you found the property, you've negotiated it, but it doesn't mean that you're responsible forever and ever that this property is going to be a good investment. They have to do their own research, their own due diligence, and you're going to have to make that really clear in the terms and conditions. So that's the first con. The second con is you don't actually, as a deal sourcer, unless you systemize it and start employing people, which is possible, it doesn't give you passive income. So if you buy a property and you rent it out, it's going to keep giving you rent every single month. Whereas as a deal sourcer, you have to keep working to getting paid. Some of my students tell me, Samuel, it's not passive income, but it is massive income. And I can use the profits to invest into property that's going to give me a passive income. And there's a really good argument in that. But my experience as a deal sourcer and as a property investor says that deal sourcing does come with a lot of work. It does come with a lot of headaches. You've got investors calling you. It's not something that you can do, 1 hour a week. This is going to be something that you're going to really have to dedicate your time to. However, if you could do one deal a week, that's going to give you about £10,000 a month. And I've got many students that are doing that and more. So it is lucrative. But part of the con is it's going to come with some hard work. The last con of deal sourcing is there are a lot of people that call themselves deal sourcers that have never sold a deal. And they spam Facebook groups and they hound estate agents and they do it all wrong. So with some people, with some professionals, deal sourcers have got a little bit of a bad rep and people think, oh, there's so many deal sourcers. But let me tell you this, I know there's a lot of people that call themselves deal sourcers, but actually people doing it properly that have learned how to do it step by step, and good deal sourcers, there's not that many. So if you learn how to find good deals, how to network with investors, and you learn how to do it properly, you will be able to sell deals very quickly and make a lot of money doing it. So if you want to learn more about deal selling or deal packaging, whatever you want to call it, as a strategy, my advice would be I do regularly run training webinars, advanced training webinars for free, where I teach you more about deal sourcing. So if you want to register so that you're the first to know when I'm going to be running one of these live webinars, then in the description box below, you can just put your details in and I'll keep you posted on any future training that I'm running. Also, if you want to learn more about deal sourcing right now, I have done videos on YouTube before. You can check those out right there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe right there. Subscribe, turn the notification bell on, smash a like, drop a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.